And I just realized I left the mic on the entire time, and I don't have to put it on. So hey, it's week. It's the time of the month. Not that time of the month. It's the time of the month for the Patron Hangout, where we open up our hearts to those who open up their wallets to us. It's a good old time where we like to just kind of show a little extra to those guys and those folks who like to, help us out in the way that they do. So that said, I am going to do a quick thing here, so you guys don't have to see that, because yes, we use Google Hangouts. So it's we're back to a Sunday for this month. Next month we'll try the Friday thing again. This was a little bit of a weird month. There's a ton of things that I've had to take care of on Fridays, and I just can't seem to get the time. So this week we got it all figured out. Next month, got it back to figure it out. We're still kind of getting back into the flow of making things for the show. I got some good news. We're going to have an exciting episode for you guys on January 19th, so keep your eyes on the channel for that. That's all I can really say about that. But when I don't say something about it, we all know what I'm talking about, right? I'm not being facetious enough when it comes down to it. So that said, we have that ahead. I also just realized I didn't share the link to this, so I am a terrible human being who just needs to quickly take care of that. If you want to be part of the Patron Hangout and you want to be allowed to come chat with us directly, or your questions heard on the show in regards to whatever you want to ask through our Discord, however you want it on this show. Check us out at patreon.com/MadeWithClix. Or if you're watching live right now and you want to be a patron for a day, throw in a super chat. I think about $1 is good enough for me. And we'll definitely address your super chat questions, because you will be a patron for a day, and I will pay attention to everything that's going on there. That said, because we have some patrons coming, I have some questions starting to catch up on the Discord. We're going to give a little bit of time, so if you're watching in the Discord, use that Patron questions channel and throw the questions in there. In the meantime, let's do some channel updates. What happened this week? This week, I failed to get a solo show out. 100% on me. Still trying to work this into the workout schedule and the schedule of spending time with Amber, who will be making her return to the show. This has got to be the most distracting thing in the world, so I'm just going to put it on. Who's going to be joining us for the next episode on the 19th. We all know what it is now, don't we? And this is the weirdest looking thing ever. I'm not going to put that on. So she'll be joining us on the 19th. Aside from that, it's just mostly me and the Metal Lab. I got some ideas coming ahead, so I just totally had a brain fart. This week, we will bring back Into the Mind of Madness. I was thinking of bringing it back as Metafix, but I am terrible at art, and I can't find the Metafix art that we used to have. You know what? It's probably on our Google Drive. Who am I kidding? So it's either going to be Metafix or Into the Mind of Madness, or I'll bring back both, and Into the Mind of Madness is probably going to be a little bit more casual focused. Of course, I'm probably going to be a little bit more of a casual player from here on in, because this is going to be the year I'm not winning a whole lot of tournaments unless they make me a Doctor Doom. That's really awesome. We only know there's one Doctor Doom, and we'll see how that goes. If I have some kind of result with it, I'm going to call it a fluke, luck, karma, call it fate, call it luck, call it karma, whatever it ends up being. That's right. I quoted Ghostbusters. I did that. I'm that guy, and I will be that guy forever in my life. So yeah, we're working on getting the channel back into the flow for the new year, coming up with some ideas for content. I've been talking to. There's a lot of new content creators this year. So there's a good start to a new year with 2 new content creators. Adam Cole's out there putting together some videos. I hadn't actually watched his yet, but then Aries Edge, formerly of 2 Clicks from KO, often of the HeroClix International exchange, doing dishing with HeroClix, as it were. Yeah, we all know. If you don't know who Aries Edge is on the HeroClix International exchange on Facebook, he kind of gained a little notoriety for just kind of doing a live video while doing the dishes and talking HeroClix, and it actually kind of became a thing. I think it's awesome. And Aries has got a really good mind for the game and really good, wants to really make some great content. So check that out. I think it's called. Do you get me just quickly double check what it's called?
Dishing out hero clicks?
Dishing out hero clicks, I believe, or dishing up hero clicks. That's DISHIN up clicks. He's just started. He just got his first video, but he goes over a decade of HeroClix, so he's got like a almost 2-hour video on that one. And as I said, Adam Cole, spelled Bebe, KOHL, has his own. You gotta have to. He is the bearded one. KOHL. Adam Cole. He is a former Canadian champion, and he's pretty good at innovating weird things to play the game competitively. So. Feel free to check him out as well. I think that's about it for the updates on the Outer Worlds. There's been a lot of guys talking to us actually lately, looking for advice and seeing what's up. I'm excited to see so many new content creators in the game of HeroClix. That the wider the spectrum of people we have talking to people about this game, the wider an angle we shoot with, is that whole idea of like, if there's a lot of content creators, then the attention spectrum becomes more like a shotgun blast as opposed to a laser. Where me and Amber, it was just me and Amber and Edward Sheldon and Dial H for HeroClix and later on 2 clicks from Chaos, it's still kind of a laser beam, like just a handful of things. But now that we're getting this number of content creators and a lot of differing styles, we've now got the Shots Fired cast, Clicked Off, Critical Clicks, and Dishing with Aries, or Dishing up HeroClix, and Adam Cole. Then we kind of fire a shotgun blast, and we're likely to get more targets and more players kind of getting their eyes on the game. And then, other times it's just, a lot of the people talking to the same people on a regular basis, but maintaining that audience. That's the beauty of lots of content creators. You just kind of audience maintains, and people keep coming back for things. I'm just looking at the background, and my desk area just needs some love. I spent so much time lately cleaning other parts of my house. I haven't loved the area you guys see the most. So, other updates around the household. I have just recently wrote an article from Jessica. I don't know if it came up yet, but I'm just kind of getting back into the flow of just doing things, getting back into playing the game, getting back into just 2020. 2020 has been a rough one, to kind of a slow start for me. We'll call it a late starter, a non-starter almost in some cases, and it's been tough kind of gathering myself and getting back into it. So bear with me as I slowly but surely get this channel back on schedule, and without the backup that I used to have. I kind of missed my backup plans, or my other half, as it were, who was you forget how much you lean on somebody until you take away that table leg and it's gone. So that said, it's time. We're gonna start looking at the Discord now. If you're watching live and you can't make it into the show and you're in the Discord, please feel free, spam that thing full of questions. I don't care what kind of questions we get. And we're gonna start with Nate White, who posted MLB clicks or WWE clicks. Now, for context, not too long ago, like a couple days ago, I think. Open link. There we go. I'm going to show you this. A little bit of a blast from the past came up on our Discord, and Nate White is one of those guys who's been playing the game for a long time, and he's got an awareness, as it were, of things that are out there and things you can possibly get your hands on. And without further ado, here we go. He found this. For those of you who may or may not be familiar, this is Sports Clix, the old MLB Sports Clix game. And yes, there was WizKids. This is around the time WizKids was actually partially owned by Topps. And that meant that, they had a really close relationship with the baseball collectible license. And as a result, we got a short-lived baseball game with the Clix dial on it, called Sports Clix. The players, it was kind of like playing an all-star team. I believe at the time, I don't think, but like there's one or two Blue Jays. I believe one of them was a pitcher, and the other one was I just remember they were the two figures I had to have at the time. But these dials were completely incompatible with HeroClix. They had nothing to do with HeroClix. They had kind of their own thing, their own symbol, and what they did. Your pitchers would get blown up and tired. Your players would be able to make plays or hit at a certain way. So they were cool. They were in the days of the butt ugly looking figures. Like HeroClix has come a long way. I'm not going to say HeroClix look great in the world of miniature games. If you're familiar with things like Warhammer, what's another one? Bolt Action is one that a lot of guys I know have been playing. If you're familiar with like really high quality like painters models, as it were, models that are intended to be built and then you put in the work into painting them, the guys, you build them, paint them, that whole hobby, HeroClix still don't look great in that grand scale. But if you compare a HeroClix now to like a HeroClix back when something like these sports clicks, or or day 1, day 2 sets of HeroClix, you will find just like it's night and day when it comes to model quality. Like they look like butt back then, and they don't look perfect yet. But this is mass production models. There's only so much give and take that there is for that. But yeah, so if they don't, these things haven't aged particularly well. These were still good for those days of WizKids models, but definitely not what I would call great. Cool looking, a neat little game. I never understood the game personally. I knew like one or two guys that played it, and they tried to explain it to me, and I played the one game. I still didn't quite understand what was going on, but ultimately afterwards it was just like, they're not making more of this. We got 1 year of all-star team type caliber players, and that was about it. So, and I just refocused on HeroClix. I mean, at the time, I think I was playing Mech Warrior in HeroClix, and just Mech Warrior was on its last legs, starting to do what at the time a lot of WizKids games were doing, starting to move to base set, collector set, and then dying. I can't. This is one of those things. I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent now because that's what I do, and this is what the show is. Anyway, that said, I definitely 1,000 times over and over again would definitely prefer WWE to MLB Clix just in general. I like pro wrestling more than I like baseball. I'm not what you would call a huge baseball. I'm a fair weather fan at best. How are the Jays doing? The Jays in? No? Okay, well, then I don't care. That's right. I had just admitted that. I don't play America's pastime. I'm a Canadian. And I'm also not that big a fan of, like, I will, because I am a kid who grew up in Toronto and you were basically bullied if you didn't like the Toronto Maple Leafs. I cheer for the Maple Leafs, but I also don't get my hopes up yearly for the Maple Leafs. So take that as you will. Overall, just in general, not what you would call a rabid sports fan. I did for a while follow mixed martial arts, fell out of it after a while. Say hi to everybody, or say hi to Amber, everybody. Kind of poked her head in. I did follow MMA almost religiously for a while, but then a lot of my favorite fighters started retiring. That made me feel old. And I just kind of drifted away. Stopped paying for the pay-per-views because I stopped having cable. Didn't want to watch it on the internet, that kind of thing. And yeah, I just sort of drifted away from MMA. That's been my sports life. I went through ebbs and flows, to say the least. I will at times kind of become a hockey fan again, occasionally. You'll find that I am a football fan again when the Saints make it into the finals. It was a heartbreaker to see them lose. And I'm fair weather for my local teams. I'm fair weather for the teams that I like, but I'm only fair weather as far as, they made it. That's awesome. I'm in. Oh, they're out? All right, I'm out. And like, I don't know who wins the championships 9 times out of 10 because my teams aren't in there. So no harm, no foul for me. I was on a tangent. Oh yeah. So anyway, back to my other tangent, which was on the collector set thing. I've often heard the argument, oh, HeroClix should be a static rarity. And I can tell you this. Whenever WizKids has moved a game to a static rarity, and this is all releasing, we're all only releasing the static rarity stuff. Basically, the living card game system, as it were. And every time they've done it, the games don't last. They don't. HorrorClix tried it. MechWarrior tried it. And when you move to that model, you don't have as much product to move, and as a result, you move a small thing, and you either have to shrink your release windows and have to release like monthly product. And people, let's not kid ourselves. We complain when there's a quarterly product, and in a month in there's a smaller product that we can get our hands on. I'm talking, of course, about countertop display movie sets. Those things come in. It's just like, why is there so much coming out? Ultimately, the static rarity thing just never works out financially, and I get why. And as well, it creates stale game. It creates a stale game. If you look for a static rarity in HeroClix, you're looking for a board game, and there's lots of hero-based board games out there. Go play those. HeroClix just doesn't thrive on that one. Doesn't survive, as it were, on that one. It has its ebbs and flows, and I think that's one of the big things about it. HeroClix moves like comics move. Characters become strong for a week and then lose that, and that's comics as much as it is HeroClix. So when I kind of agree with the whole collectible model that they are on right now, and I just, it's not Warhammer. It's HeroClix. Heroes are played in smaller scales. It works for this, and I believe in the system. I also, I've been at this game for 17. It's year 17, isn't it? Or is it year 18? 18. Almost 20 years. We're very close to 20 years of HeroClix, and I've been a part of all of them. And I'm cool if they just continue as they are. The random collectability kind of works for me. And now we move next to the anticipation of Captain America. It's there. I'm looking forward to the set. I've fallen in love with a couple characters already. I'm sure there's still more stuff that I'm going to be shocked to discover. And it's going to be cool to see how the seal plays out on it, because it does look like as I've kind of anticipated, there's a lot of lower point level characters, a lot of Captain America is not a character you expect to be 150 to 200 points sometimes. But that said, there's been a drastic overhaul, it looks like, of what used to be a 250 point character. I definitely drew attention to it on the Meta Lab this week when we looked at the Chase Thor, who was 125 points. And if you talked to me about this character a year ago, we were talking about a 250 point character that we would never spend 250 points on. So somebody wised up in game design, and we're starting to see a little bit of a curbing down of a lot of points being put into things, it looks like, which is, it has its ups and it has its downs. I don't think Thor on his own defeats the current state of the metagame. In fact, one of his biggest weaknesses right now is a 65-point character that's still seeing play in the unseen, because he is not outwit proof and he cannot see through stealth. So even though he can one-shot unseen, he can't get to him. So, but overall, the set's looking cool. I'm kind of in that happy place right now, even though the funny thing is, I'm in this happy place because and I haven't been able to play much of the game. I am guilty of not being able to play nearly a tenth of how much I want to play the game as much as I used to. And that, I have a wife who plays the game of HeroClix. I run a venue every Sunday. And for like 5 weeks now going, in the past 5 weeks of events, I have had even numbers of players. And when I'm a judge, You play the buy. But if you don't have a buy, you don't get to play. I just gotta take care of something here. What else is up in the world besides my gas? So yeah, I haven't been playing nearly as much of the game as I have desired, and which is bad because I am excited. That said, my February is full of HeroClix. It's the February Fight Fest is ahead for me because February 1st, like if I label it out, February 1st, I'm going to be at a pre-release. I believe that next weekend is going to be a WKO. The next weekend after that, I think, is actually my that's the weekend after that is another WKO. So yeah, February is full of HeroClix. I got 2 weeks straight of WKOs and a release, and oh my gosh, oh boy, it's going to be a good old time there. Yeah, so very exciting times. Very exciting times for us, for the game, and just a really good month. I can't complain about that, to say the least. Looking forward to whatever 2020 has ahead for me and for us as players. What else is new with me? I'm playing. I wish I was playing more video games, but my kids are playing all the video games that we have in the house, and they're not letting me. A bunch of bullies. Been playing a lot of Switch though, which is good old times. Going back to some fighting games too. I've been kind of revisiting fighting games. When the kids are taking up all the computers or all the video games, and I can get on my computer, I'll play some Street Fighter V. I got Dragon Ball Fighters for the Switch. That's a really fun one. It's a good kind of revisiting of the systems of Marvel vs. Capcom, which is, what really made me excited for when Street Fighter came out. We can relive that whole lifestyle. So that was pretty cool. This is not as exciting a week to keep things going as I am. Just 1 second, folks. I am currently burning some food in the kitchen because I've been doing a lot of like big scale cooking, like making some stuff that will last a couple weeks or last over time and whatnot. And right now I'm doing a split pea soup, but I feel like I might have messed it up. We'll see. It's funny. It's taken me about this long being away from the industry as a chef to just not hate cooking anymore. So, yeah. What else? This week, we ran a tournament. It's 500 points. My daughter's kind of been going up and down in weeks. I feel like because she's been running the WWE wrestlers so consistently for a while, they're good, but people are starting to adapt, and that happens. If you know somebody is going to bring a thing, and eventually, like, this is one of those things I hear. It's like, these guys keep bringing the same teams over and over again. And you see that, then you have two choices. You either bring a team that you want to play under the realization they're going to play that and know that game that you're going to have ahead with them is either going to be hard or pain in the butt, or you punish them 1 week and the subsequent weeks, and you plan ahead and just be like, okay, if you're going to keep doing this, I'm going to do this to you. Or, you start learning how to play around certain things that you find particularly tough. In the case of WWE, everybody understands we're going to have to bring it to the fight to them. And even your regular sort of, I'm going to shoot you thing with the WWE, guys like, oh, I can't do that. So I got to make sure my characters don't completely crumple when it comes to range combat. It's just the best way to deal with it on the more lower casual level. Yeah, yeah. So apparently I forgot to turn off Steam, so somebody is playing games. It will just nothing's going on here. There's some questions coming up in the Discord, so bear with me. I am not as interesting this month as I usually am. I also don't, Amber's not doing this with me anymore, so she's not there to bounce back and forth with or to take a break with. We don't have any patrons in here yet, so honestly, I should have known better and just ran it a little later. But I don't get a lot of responses when I put out the posting like, "Hey, we're gonna do this. Let me know." So okay, cool. So we actually got something, and it was Nathaniel again. What movies would you think make fun theme games? So there's a lot of directions you can go with that, and it was fun a couple years ago, but guys, stop doing zombie movie horror theme games. I'm just so sick of watching hordes of zombies on Halloween. You guys all want to do it. I get it. Stop. Just stop. I'm so tired of it. It's been beaten to death. That said, what are other movies that you could really get away with? I mean, obviously Star Trek because there's Star Trek stuff, but you got to find a way to add scenarios to it. Or I don't know. You can. One of my favorites. I like to, even though it technically isn't really. Think of those times where somebody said, "Bring 3 teams and play a different team every round." That's Pulp Fiction, man. You go on 3 different adventures in 3 different cases, and sometimes a character will cross over and whatnot. So, but yeah, and Nathaniel wants, do I have any ideas about Back to the Future and Fifth Element games? I mean, Back to the Future is pretty cool. You can just say, have a character, bring an old version of a character, and put it in there. So I guess you could kind of unofficially do a shifting focus. I don't know. Back to the Future is a tricky one. I mean, I've seen somebody do the Ghost of Past, Present, Future sort of situation. Yeah. So, it's movies are a really hard one right out of there because so many times people just want to murder each other. So you got to find a way to make the idea of murdering each other be part of the scenario somehow. So something like you can almost do like a Die Hard almost, or you kind of have to get everybody in on one sort of situation, and then okay, here comes another one of my unpopular opinions. Guys, I love your scenarios, but if I feel like I'm playing D&D, I'm not playing HeroClix anymore. And all I'm doing is playing D&D with HeroClix mechanics, which in itself is whatever it is. But if it looks like I need 3 other guides just in your description of the event to run it, I start getting frustrated because I'm going out to play HeroClix, not your board game, man. Just do that on your own time. So stepping aside from that, when you do stuff like this, it usually comes in the form of battle royale type things or all against the world. All against the world is usually your typical zombie scenario. But when you start to theme games with mechanics like HeroClix, you start to find yourself just making either capture the flag with murder or, murder the zombies or murder the thing or hold the point and murder everybody on the way to the point. And you just, the best scenarios that work for HeroClix end up just being the best scenarios that work for, Call of Duty as well. So then when you try to put that into movies, you find yourself and I'm coming from this from the point of view of do not overcomplicate the game, right? That's kind of what I'm trying to say. And I appreciate that guys like to do that, but honestly, it's really hard on if you want to bring new players to your venue and you say, okay, cool, I'm glad you brought some HeroClix. By the way, what we're doing is nothing like you expect a HeroClix game to be. This guy's going to walk in and be like, I just brought HeroClix, man. Why you got to make my life complicated? And they're not coming back, right? So, guys, just do yourselves that favor. Anyway, I do like to do it with teams. So if I do like a Back to the Future thing, I will take a character's future version and then include it with their parents or something like that, like Cable and parents. It is just the easiest example. There's your Back to the Future, right? So, yeah, okay, not killing, you're KOing, but I'm throwing that word in there to make sure that I just kind of skirt around any indication that I might seem non-compliant. It's like I'm talking about murder now. Come on, guys. All right. What do I know about the upcoming Martian Manhunter OP kit prize? Last Thursday, Judge Organizer said they'd be made available this upcoming Thursday. Who else is in the kit? The other two characters in the kit are Despero and Batman. We actually started this week with the Martian Manhunter at my venue. Into the Mind of Madness, and so Michael Fedor, who will be joining us soon enough. The Into the Mind is. Do I have a desire to make the Into the Mind of Madness? Yes. Do I desire using that show for the same thing I used to? No. I'm probably gonna actually use it for my more casual musings, my weird ideas for teams that I have absolutely no intention of making for competitive play. In fact, I think I might turn Into the Mind of Madness into a 400, 500 point turn show, and then bring back Metafix as it's what Into the Mind of Madness became for a little while, which was like my prep for tournament shows. And I called it Into the Mind of Madness because my ideas are always stupid and not competitive, and I gotta get it. I keep saying I'm gonna make a shirt, and my shirt is Jason's teams are not competitive. Should almost make it a jersey or a sign I wear on my hat. On my head, sign I wear on my head. Yeah. So, In the Mind of Madness is coming back. I'm just kind of rejiggering it, I think. And I just expected tired, exasperated Jason on those because the workout schedule is just brutal for me right now. But I'm getting there. I hit 224 after the Christmas break, which, I started. We started this whole bet at work, and I started that at 245, and that was October, November-ish. And there was 1 week where I lost like 8 pounds. It was insanity. And that was also a week I went axe throwing and whatnot. But I'm throwing these 2-hour workouts in before I do a lot of content, and I'm just trying to get my brain into the mode that is making content after doing that kind of thing. That's the hard, and this is all sorts of making content. Like if I want to edit something, it's after I've worked out for the night. If I want to go live, it's after I've worked out the night. And I can't push my mornings that far forward anymore. Like I'm already waking up pretty close to 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm waking up at 7 o'clock in the morning. I have to get the kids up, and so we'll see. But yeah, I'm going to be working on content again. Full disclosure, I've had a bit of a down period just before the holidays and coming out of the holidays, where I was having a hard time motivating myself to make things and come up with good ideas and whatnot. And I got really down on myself because I'm gonna tell you, we've been at this for like 6 or 7 years. We've been at this particular channel for a long time. And part of the problem I'm running into is because we've been at this for so long, I feel like sometimes when I make content, I'm actually repeating myself. So, and I always like to try to avoid that, but it's really, really difficult to do that. So it's bear with me as I get over my own personal hang-ups and issues. We are going to get through it very soon. So 2013 is when we started this. So we're on year 7 of Married with Clix. And so we'll see what the future holds for me. I'm just trying to get my ideas and stuff going. Patience with me, and I appreciate you guys, but I promise you, Into the Mind of Madness and Metafix are both returning, and we will definitely get content back on the road next week for sure. We're just moving our live shows to like 10:30 now. All right, kind of talked about that. I heard WizKids is making the TMNT contract lapse. Is this true? Should be enough fodder until I get home. Okay, so the TMNT, my understanding is, I think at this point we are past the point of no return because we have nothing announced since Unplugged, and you know we didn't have a new Ninja Turtles con exclusive this year, so I could probably assume that gone. It was fun while it lasted. These things only last for so long, and I'm sure because it was a deal with Nickelodeon, there was an attempt to get other licenses, and they kind of got stuck with the Ninja Turtles, and that was it. That's all they were allowed. And while that's fine, the Ninja Turtles are a cool license. I loved everything Ninja Turtles. Because they couldn't space it out with other stuff, such as Avatar, Legend of Korra, and, you know, some other cool stuff that Nickelodeon really had access to, we kind of got left on the lurch for, you know, what could have been for that, and I don't think they're going to further pursue it. So it could be just another one gone, another one bites the dust, it's impossible to tell whose end is coming from, and whether or not there is anything to be designed anymore for them, as far as what they might or may not have been allowed to license for. Ninja Turtles as a license is widespread, but at the same time limited. Because there is X number of versions of the Ninja Turtles. There's the original Mirage comics. There is the current IDW, and this is just comic books. There's the Image comics, and then there's the IDW comics. There's no way in heck I want to see anything to do with that Image comics. It's hot garbage, and they've been re-releasing it called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Urban Legends. IDW's been doing reprints of the Image comics. It is so bad. Like, I got through the first issue and I was angry. I was like, this existed? What the heck? So, so we moved then to, you know, the next licenses would be like the cartoons. So we have our 80s cartoon, which we got figures representing. We have Back from the Sewers, which never got represented. We got the Nickelodeon, the Nicktoons cartoon, which a great series, by the way. And we got I think I already mentioned the IDW comic itself got represented in the set. But then, what are you representing as the heroes? 4 Ninja Turtles, 5 or 6 friends. So maybe 10 dudes, right? Dudes and ladies. And then there's the bad guys. There's a plethora of bad guys. But a lot of them are created just for selling toys. Like, if you really kind of want to dig deep into what was available to them, I suggest if you have a Netflix account, watch The Toys That Made Us. And they did a specific episode on the Ninja Turtles just to see where they could have gone with it. But then look at it from that point of view of, oh yeah, we just really were going to get Raphael, Donatello, Leonardo, Michelangelo. That's all we were going to get over and over and over again. So I think even the designers were like, I don't know how else to make Donatello. I apparently hate him. Leonardo has leadership, doesn't deserve it. Whatever. Michelangelo's a party dude. Give him prob. That seems right. Raphael's angry. Give him battle fury and flurry. Whatever. Like, after a point, you could start to tell that they just didn't want to make them anymore. And I can appreciate that. Like, every game designer gets like about things, and I can appreciate that. And constantly requiring them to make it isn't gonna help the situation either. It's only, if anything, gonna make it worse. So they may have had to step away, and we got as far as the video games, and a lot of people weren't fans of the pixelated style. I liked it. I thought it was cool. And I understand the reasoning behind the way that they made it. There were a few decisions that I thought were pretty confusing. For instance, I'm okay with the existence of the Mudman in the set. But why is the Mudman a bystander? That was a boss character in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Turtles in Time. Like, I don't know why felt the need to say the entire name. Probably because I'm stalling for time. But the Mudman was a boss. Why is he a bystander, bro? Like, do you even video game, man? I was reminded of this New Year's Eve. We whip out my Raspberry Pi, which is full of arcade games. We pull out some awesome joysticks that I got together from kits, and we start just slamming some buttons, beating on old school beat 'em ups. And the Ninja Turtle series is one that we play along with the X-Men, the Konami X-Men game, and the what's it called, the Simpsons game. Which led to a lot of questions of, has anybody at Konami watched The Simpsons? Because I feel like they only based that game on like 1 or 2 episodes, and then they were already making the game. It was really weird. So we come back to the Ninja Turtles. What's available? I think we got enough to kind of say this is representative of the Ninja Turtles. We're not going to get any better than this. We got Space Turtles. I don't think we can get better beyond that. So all said and done, I'm cool with what we got. It'll stay in my Golden Age collection once Unplugged. Unplugged was actually the set I bought like the least of. Even though I liked the way the figures looked, I just kind of, nothing really excited me that I was like, I have to get this. I'll finish the set at some point, probably around the time it retires, and just it'll sit in my Golden Age box, and I will whip out Ninja Turtles every so often when I feel like it for my Golden Age events that I run at my local store. Also, guys that run stores, email me and let me know what it, or like who have it in good. Email me and let me know what it takes to get a WKO or a pre-release. I'm not too familiar with the process, and the guy that runs the store, I kind of want to take a lot of the work out of this for him, so he doesn't have to do much aside from, hey man, can you order the product so we can give you the money to buy it? That kind of situation. That's really the relationship we have with the new store. So, all right. So where are we? Yeah, no killing Clix. They are KO Clix. My bad. Blade or Vulture? Prime Vulture. This is an interesting question. Okay. How do I answer this question specifically? Blade is cool on his own. I like him. I like everything he stands for. And I like what he does to Wendigos, and specifically Wendigos. He has theme team opportunities, which goes a long way. I think he has... I know he has Wakanda. I double check here. What other... keywords he has. Facebook is just a worse every time I'm streaming, and I really got to get something fixed about that. God, Facebook, you're the worst. I want to say Wakanda. I know for a fact there's been discussion about the fact that Wakanda is one of them. Mystical and Monster, I think, are the other ones that he has. Along with, I'm getting there, almost there. There he is. Oh gosh, Avengers, Marvel Knights. What else? Midnight Suns. Okay, a lot of these I'm saying just don't have things, but there's Monster, Mystical, Spy, Wakanda. Wakanda is getting one heck of a bump in a Captain America set. I think that's pretty cool to see a bump in Wakanda. Black Panther had a set, guys. Come on, you could have done that there. And I'm not saying that, don't do it in Captain America, but I think it needed a better... It feels like it's kind of an add-on to a bad start is kind of where I'm going with this. But I love the idea of seeing more things from Wakanda and seeing kind of a cohesive team come out of it. Anyway, so as far as like team building, I'd prefer to build with Blade than the Vulture. But when it comes down to it, the Vulture's ability to just walk through characters and do what Vulture do, it's pretty strong. And Blade just murders 2 specific keywords, and that's Monster and Mystical. Vulture kills you if you got enough clicks for him to kill you. That's just how it works out. So, grand scale of it, the Vulture has a place, Blade has a different place. They're both fine. Vulture on the more wide scale sort of situation. But another thing you gotta remember about Vulture is, unlike Blade, he takes up your prime slot. So if you have an idea of a prime that you really want to get use out of, Blade's the guy you want to use. If you don't have other primes that you want to use, Vulture is your man. But ultimately, Vulture is going to do more about more teams than Blade is, where Blade will specifically just... We've seen... I don't know if anybody's seen it. The wall of Wendigo exists. I have seen it. And Blade walks through that. But then so does Vulture. And like, Vulture kills them 2 at a time. Blade kills them 1 at a time. Not necessarily in like individual attacks. Vulture will kill you, kill one, kill another, charge, flurry, kill one, kill another. Okay, so we got like 5 charge activations of charge. If somehow you miss in there, you deserve to lose sort of situation, like you weren't going to win anyway. I think both Vulture and Blade are going to do what they do against the Wendigos, and very few people are going to be able to say much about it. And in both cases, they don't need a ton of help. Like, if you perplex up both their attacks, let's say 2, they're going to go through those armies easy enough, because, and that's without any other additional things. So like, one of those guys and 2 perplexers, and they have 2 extra attack. They're very rarely going to be missing any Wendigos. But the Vulture, if you get him that Doc Ock arms, has more chances. The Blade will have to continuously do as he does. Again, unless you give him the Doc Ock arms. But then he also loses on mobility a little, because Vulture flies versus not flying with Blade. Like, if you rip down all the individual little things, we play them both at 50, you give them both Doc Ock arms, ultimately the Vulture's going to win out on a number of things. One of which is Vulture just does what he does, doesn't matter what your keywords are. But then Vulture also has a little bit more in what he does versus Blade, in the fact that he's got a dial that's right up in front of you and doesn't have to do damage in order to get like a bigger dial. What you see is what you get for dial on the Vulture. He's got that double sidestep. He flies. Like, all of this kind of works in favor of the Vulture. But then you got to remember the Vulture is going to retire. Very like within the next couple, like the year before Blade retires, Vulture retires, and if I was to choose now, it would be Vulture. If I was to choose in the future, it's gonna be Blade, because one won't be available. But because Blade only they both kill very specifically at the same team, and I think that's the big thing to it. It's like, people compare them because the 2 teams that they absolutely murder are monster mystical teams with massive armies of guys, and I think animal teams too. But then with Blade, there's kind of an all-stop, there's still more guys to kill, but they don't have the monster mystical keyword. What do we do now? You just do damage and hope that they're, you can continue. But you can do more damage to things with Blade than his points, and the same with Vulture. So just Vulture. I've said it several times, and I have to commit to it. Vulture, just because he is less limited than Blade, ultimately. But they're both really good, and Blade is just, we'll call him Vulture Light, because if you play that monster mystical Thworm, and you see Blade across the table, he was ready for you, man. He was ready for your Wendigo Swarm. All right. Any non-traditional licenses you see WizKids picking up this year? I think if there's something that we're going to see... picking it... I guess they can pick them up this year. What non-traditional licenses can we see them picking up this year? As much as I'd love to see the Hasbro licenses, I don't think it's going to happen. I'm on board. Okay, I'm on board with everybody. G.I. Joe Clix would be cool. Transformer Clix would be cool. Magic the Gathering Clix would be cool. But I know better. and I am not going to hold out my breath on those. I think we're more likely to see Overwatch. That's Zarya. Before we see that, and Overwatch would be cool. I think Overwatch would definitely fit in, but and Overwatch 2 is around the corner. I'm sure Blizzard would love the extra marketing. I don't know, what non-traditional licenses. What are the cartoons? I'm not up to date with kids' cartoons right now, or what's new in the cartoon world. In the anime world, would be nice to see some like I think My Hero Academia could really translate along with One Punch Man, except for Saitama himself. It wouldn't be neat to see like an Attack on Titan one go thing, like just one super booster set and just be like, here's Attack on Titan, have fun with that, and here's your generic like 3 meter Titans, and all of them are colossals, and just have fun with that. I think they can have a ton of fun with it just at one go, but I don't think they will pick it up. I think My Hero Academia actually would have a better chance than that, but I don't know how the licensees on these are to deal with, so I'm probably having some lofty dreams. If I was to actually like hard guess something we could expect, that's a harder one to call. But I feel like it would be more video game focused than anything else. Like I don't see another wrestling company coming in. That's for sure. Just because that's how WWE deals with people. It's like, oh, you're bringing in AEW. God, you're fired. That's what would happen. So they don't work with anybody who's working with anybody. Where else can we go with non-traditional licenses? What other mediums are there? Like, I want to say animation Voltron would be cool, but again, that brings to the level. It's like, you got to bring Colossal in the game. Jason, stop trying to bring Colossal in the game. Well, no. The monster universe that they're trying to do with Godzilla, King Kong could be neat. It would be neat to see more horror stuff. Ghostbusters could probably be a neat thing, and there's a new movie just around the corner. Actually, it's in June. We would have known by now if they're doing a Ghostbusters set, I think. Pokemon? Why not? Range combat expert Pikachu. Come on now. Make it happen, guys. Psychic Blast. And all ground Pokemon get invincible just to deal with that. I'd love to see Castlevania as Hero Clix. Just a small set because there's only so far you can go. But in a small, let's say we go with a 24 figure. Like if I was to design it, I'm going to do that because Castlevania is one of my favorite video game series franchises of all time, and I could probably talk at length about this. I would say with the if you go with the Castlevania license, you can create a couple things that are like specifically you can make all of the Belmonts. Trevor, Simon, Richter, Gabriel. Trevor, Simon, Richter, Gabriel. Go for that. Where else could you go? You could go with all the monsters. I mean, and you made most of the monsters in the Undead set, so just make newer versions of them that more reflective of Castlevania. You could throw multiple versions of Dracula in there. You could also put Alucard, Sypha. You can give Alucard 2 names if you like. I can't remember what his name is in the DS ones, but you could also put Sona. So, yeah. Hey, somebody threw in an Umbrella Academy. There's a really cool small set you could put together. Base it on the comics. There's a little bit more stuff you could do, for sure. But of course, it's funny because he in the chat somebody put in like the Umbrella Corporation as well. It's like, yeah, okay, Amber could spin you a yarn about what you could do with the Resident Evil franchise as a HeroClix thing, but Amber's not on the show anymore, so we're gonna go back to Castlevania. Mega Man. Mega Man's another one you could really pull off because you have Mega Man in different colors, and I just saved WizKids a ton of money. Here's in every set there is a you could do multiple sets. Okay, hear me out. All right, Mega Man 1. You have Mega Man 1. You have Blue Mega Man, who just does what Blue Mega Man do. And then you have your Guts Man, Cut Man, Ice Man, Fireman, Electro Man. I think that's what their names, but anyway. And then you have a Mega Man with each of those. And then you have the Dr. Wily enemy or enemy bots. And we're good to go. Like, we're just solid. Like, half of the set is going to be reprints of Mega Man, and y'all hate me for that. I don't care. I don't care. Then Mega Man 2, you do the same thing. Except you actually have 9 Robot Masters and your Dr. Wily. And you can do, I think, one of the bosses is remakeable as a dude. Because Mega Man 2 didn't have much in the way of, like, I gotta make this boss character from the Wily levels a dude. But still, like, you have 9 characters. The colors of Mega Man, Dr. Wily. Dr. Light even, if you want to just throw in some extra stuff in there. And Mega Man 1, you can throw in, like, I don't know, whatever you want to do. But then you have Mega Man 3, and that's where things start getting crazy. Because then you have the 9 Robot Masters, 8 Robot Masters on that one. Proto Man. Your 9 Mega Men as well. People are going to be so mad at me. I mean, ultimately, you can, if you want to just make Mega Man as a character, here's how Mega Man works. If he kills somebody, pick a power from that character. That's a power that Mega Man can use. Done. I've designed Mega Man, like half of his functionality for you. And then in Mega Man 9, you also have the Doc Robots. Boom, pick a power, but pick 2 specific powers, power set combinations, and then you're done. Kind of like Monster X from TMNT. And then you do the same thing across the board, and it solves itself. And then you can even go X, and you've got a license forever. Call Capcom again. You did Street Fighter, get Mega Man going. You screwed up. Oh man, there's a lot of video games that you can really get away with. You can almost do, like, just say make a Smash Brothers set if Nintendo gives you the okay. I think you can sell that. I think you can sell tons of that. I think I know guys at work who don't play HeroClix that would buy that. That's another revenue stream that we all take for granted that exists. That's actually the revenue stream that keeps this game alive. Is HeroClix is kept alive by people who don't play HeroClix. I know this because people who own stores constantly tell me, well, I make more money off of guys who don't play HeroClix. Like, well, screw those guys then. But those are the guys that keep the game alive. So thank you guys who don't play HeroClix and collect them all. Right there. What else is there in games? Because what other video games are there that we could really... Crash Bandicoot. Crash Bandicoot is all kinds of fun. Okay, it's a little childish, isn't it? I'm kind of overstepping the line there.
My other big one is Mass Effect. But
Amber says Mass Effect, but we all remember what Andromeda did to that one.
I've talked at length about Mass Effect and Resident Evil being made into HeroClix.
Yes, we have talked about that. Yes, Street Fighter is definitely due for a redo. Mortal Kombat kind of sells itself. And, you know, Street Fighter could afford, you know, they've learned from their mistake with the original Street Fighter. Bring back Street Fighter, give them the WWE treatment, let them in, and yeah, I think people would buy into that and sell them in the same way, even, you know, or if you want to just sell them in game kits, sure, people would buy that. Heck, I'd buy it all. I mean, but I buy it all anyway, don't I? I'm a bad example. I'm a bad example, ladies and gentlemen. Oh yeah. What other video games do we all like? What was that? There was an anime fighter a while ago. I can't remember. Just checking the Discord again. Yeah, okay. So we're just kind of holding off for a little bit more on our Patron. Not sure how much longer we got. So I think we're going to just go over what we still have to do for the channel. We have to bring back Move and Attack. I have an episode. I've been meaning to edit the episode. It's literally not a hard job to edit. I just have to open Adobe, put the things in, put the title screens in, and just hit export. I don't know why. I'm probably, you know what? I'm going to do something smart. I'm going to do it right after this episode. I'm going to smarten my organization up. I'm going to do it. I'm going to hit that export button. I'm going to lock the screen and just leave it go and just not pay attention to it. That's how things crash, guys. But then if it does crash, I just hit export in the morning again, and then I leave it alone. So we're gonna get that back, because Move and Attack is a ton of fun to do, and I don't want that. I don't want the tradition to die. I love it. I love it too much. It's too good, and I love you guys for contributing to it. Just gonna check how much longer we got. Because unfortunately, I see you guys in the chat. I love you guys in the chat. But unfortunately, yeah, Adobe will crash on me. It will crash multiple times. This is how Adobe works. You open, start putting your project together. Thankfully, they autosave now. Premiere autosaves now. But still, you'll save, it'll crash. All right, cool. You drag and drop something new in there. You do a couple more things, and it crashes. And that's the life of editing in Adobe products. But it's the price you pay for what they provide. Because if you go back and watch our old iMovie or Movie Maker stuff, you could tell. We could tell. And if you're not familiar, go back to a lot of YouTubers like first videos when they're using Windows Movie Maker or iMovie. You can tell. Oh boy, can you ever tell the defaults on that one. Yeah, I did briefly mention Overwatch. I mentioned it in brief. It's a conversation I think I've had multiple times. This is again, we go back to that thing I was saying earlier. It's like we've been at this for 7 years. This is year 7 of us making this channel. I've talked about so many things so many times. And like, it's not even that we've talked about it today. It's that we've talked about it on another day. So, oh boy. Has it been a life? So yeah, I find that's part of some of the issues I've had. That like, I'm finding myself repeating myself, not just on the day. I find myself doing that all the time, but I just do that. One of my earliest comments was, "Thanks for saying the same thing over and over again the entire show." Like, yeah, I know, I do that. Sorry. If you've ever watched, I feel like I do the same thing that Chris Rock does. And I don't know if you've seen Chris Rock's live stuff, but his stand-up, he'll repeat his last punchline, because I feel like he's using that to remember what the next joke is. He also says it in a funnier way, just to kind of remind people, like, you're supposed to be laughing. If you are not laughing, we have a problem. That's because I am not being funny somehow. So I'm going to say it in a funnier way and get you going, as it were. What else is on in the world? Talk about Overwatch. Talk about. There's so many licenses that could be brought into the superhero world that would be fun, but then you look at it and you go, "That's just setting me up for disappointment, isn't it?" It's just because every so often I'm like, "Oh, what about Firefly or Star Wars? Those would be pretty cool things." And Star Wars would probably be more agreeable because it's Disney. We keep telling ourselves Star Wars will be in HeroClix because Disney. And then Hasbro's over there like, ahem, or Fantasy Flight's over there like, ahem. But I believe Fantasy Flight may be kind of wrapping up their agreement with Disney. Who knows? I don't know. We'll see. But they're all the respect to all the people who work over Fantasy Flight games. And sorry to hear that so many people lost jobs. It's never good to hear when big restructurings lead to big job losses. I think they lost their role playing game sections and their digital games, which is super sad to hear. But you know, who knows? That could lead to good things for HeroClix, but so many people did so much good work over Fantasy Flight, and I never want to hear about game designers losing jobs. It's never good. It's never fun. It's one of those industries, whether it's paper, whether it's digital, whether it's whatever it is not easy. Getting the jobs takes forever. Like the job I have right now, the process started in August, I think. No, it was the process started in August, and I didn't have the job until December, but I didn't start until January. Like, it was like a 4 or 5 month process. So, it's just so hard to hear that people go down like that, and so all my best to the guys over at Fantasy Flight. I love your work. I love a lot of the stuff. I just got into Keyforge recently with Amber. That's a fun pick-me-up game. Just grab a box, play a deck, go. There's so much information when it comes to like when a company kind of hits like that you don't know what's going on, why the decision was made, everything like that. I haven't done any digging on it necessarily, so all I know is they've shuttered two portions of their company, which is never ever good news. So it's funny, we look at there's a little bit of a chat going on in the chat about how Star Wars, there's so much content. There is and there isn't, because if you actually look at the number of characters, let's go with just the named characters that are marketable and worth making. It's that we'll just go off the movies, because let's be honest, we all love our extended universe. Let's not kid ourselves. We love it. I don't, but you guys who love Star Wars do. I'm more of a Trekkie myself, so yeah, I got mine. No, I got we also got Boldly Go. And Star Wars, it's cool, but like let's narrow it down to what are we gonna make. We got Luke, Leia, Han, Chewie, and we're just gonna go New Hope for now. Luke, Leia, Han, Chewie, Obi-Wan, Darth Vader. The Emperor's not gonna really feature in this set. We have Tarkin, Grand Moff Tarkin, I think it was. The guy who gets choked, I think he has a name. Sure. We'll throw in a couple more of the guys. Let's say we have 10 there, okay? That's before you have generic Stormtrooper, generic Rebel Soldier, C-3PO, R2-D2, if we make characters of these. Then Sand People, so we're at 15. We almost have a common slot set up. Right? We could do throw in a Jawa, why not? And then we start getting a little desperate. The guy in the bar, the guy who got his arm cut off in the bar. I mean, when it comes down to it, even Star Trek was kind of light on things, right? Like, look at Star Trek, the original series. They pulled everything out of the original series with maybe the exception of like 5 or 6 things. And that had 6 years and 6 seasons and multiple episodes and new things in every episode. Like, there's only so much content. And that's just coming from knowing how the stuff goes together, right? So if we're going back to New Hope, like we get your stormtroopers, sure, okay, stormtroopers are in there, and then we can add like a couple generics based on the generals that we had, right? So we're still only at like 17, 18. So, you know, I mean, and again, here we go. There's the Star Wars fans in there. Like, well, what about Rebels? I'm not talking about Rebels. I'm talking about New Hope, right? And then we got okay. So what is it like the whoever the lady is who gives the orders? There's a character. Just because you know the name of the character doesn't mean it's marketable, makeable as a character, right? So, and you have to step away and look at it from that angle. It's like, is it worth it to dial up this guy? Is it worth it to dial up this guy? Is it worth it to stretch this so far? And okay, maybe not. So what I just described is probably a single figure set with your countertop display levels. I think that could be fine. And you could probably get away with a couple of those. But eventually you're going to start to realize that the Jedi are high attack, high damage in close combat with telekinesis. I mean, how much more creative can we get with that? I mean, you can. Don't get me wrong. But it's... The depth of design is not what we want it to be, I don't think. And it would take a heck of a lot of thinking and a heck of a lot of work to just make it interesting. And I do think it could sell, but I don't. I mean, if we look at it in the way that I kind of want to look at it, we'll say we tried it with WWE, and we think, oh, it's going to get so many new players in because so many people like it, and the strength of license is massive, but ultimately, not everybody in that is into that. And in a lot of cases, I find that the people who want to play Star Wars don't want to play the characters who are in Star Wars. They want to make their own version of the characters they want to be in Star Wars. I think that's why it translates more often to role-playing games, say, than miniature games and whatnot. Now, there is Attack Wing, and Attack Wing is doing well, but that was made by Fantasy Flight. They're having problems, guys. Not Attack Wing, X-Wing. Sorry, X-Wing. Attack Wing is the one that WizKids made. That's also not doing great either. So, although again, we can't. Attack Wing is probably doing better than the World's attendance definitely can represent, and that's what we keep saying when we say the people who aren't playing this game are the people who are playing this game alive. The people we don't see at these Worlds or at these major tournaments, they're not the ones who are keeping the game alive most of the time. They are the ones who, sit at home, play with their buddies, have a regular play group, maybe play at a local venue. They don't go out to Worlds. They don't go out to the players at Worlds. Actually, when it comes down to it, this is something that comes up every so often, and the players at Worlds are good representatives of what we should really be discussing as far as like, here's how I can abuse the rules as a player, and this is what you've allowed me to do. But we are not the ones who should be telling you what you should be making for us to buy. You guys know that better because you guys have the metrics on that. Guys that make HeroClix know what people are buying, and that's, I mean, every competitive player is like, oh look, or every player I see is like, oh, it's another Batman. What the heck? It's like, well, no, because there's a guy over here who's buying all of these Batman because that's how much of a Batman fan he is. I know a guy who plays like maybe once every 5 years at this point. Has everything named Batman on it. Another guy in my semi not very regular at all play group, everything Green Lantern. These are the guys that are keeping our game alive. We, as a competitive players, are not. But we, as a competitive players, are guys keeping the conversation alive. And these are guys that are telling people, here's the strategies that we use, and this is why these work, and this is kind of that thing. So, that's always understand is that, like, the voices that are talking to certain people, not a lot of what we're going to say is going to fall on deaf ears, and it should fall on deaf ears because we want our competitive game, and these are the tools that we want for our competitive game. Meanwhile, over here, people would just want to buy the cool figures on the cool bases, and competitive players are just going to be like, all right, cool, Batman. What does Batman do? But what does the collector do? And that's what happens, right? So, whipping our way back around. Star Wars would be cool. I would love to see Star Wars come in. But I also feel like Star Wars could end up the way that Star Trek does. And I think a good part of it I've said this before, WizKids need some help with marketing, and I don't think they have that strong a marketing department. And I think actually a good portion of the marketing department is currently focused on getting product out to people who are on YouTube that people are watching, while at the same time sending it to guys like myself and Amber, who open it, know the product, and can really introduce people to the characters as they're being brought in, but also as the game. Here's how the game works. Here's our understanding of the game, and I think that's what their marketing is focusing on. Unfortunately, there was a time many moons ago when we were playing this game in the early days. You'd open up the advertisement page in a comic. Here's HeroClix, and HeroClix has been around for 5 years. All right, cool. And buy HeroClix, and those we used to see comic book advertising, and I don't think we quite have the marketing tools right now to kind of hit the markets that we want to bring in. People want to buy Star Wars. I get that. WizKids wants to sell Star Wars, but I don't think they'll sell enough Star Wars to kind of encourage them to make more, because they're not going to attract a new player. And it's not because we're not trying, and it's not because the product isn't working for them. The WWE product is a perfect new player entry level. But new players have to know where HeroClix is and what exists and what HeroClix... Like, new players don't know where HeroClix is, what it is, how to get it. They don't know it exists until they stumble across it when we are playing. We, as the players, oddly enough, are actually the marketing team. And that's on a local level. If you walk into a new store, our store over here, we run HeroClix every Sunday. People walk in. What's going on over here? Unfortunately, our store, I love the owner and everything like that, and I understand his reasoning on it. It is hard to just keep HeroClix on the shelf. HeroClix real estate is ridiculous. It is acres of real estate to hold HeroClix on your shelf. And as a result, this is a store that's fairly small in shelf space, so we kind of only function on a pre-order system. We do have the new player night stuff, and I do run a Golden Age event on a regular basis so that players who stumble across the game get a bunch of new stuff or a bunch of commons and extra stuff from their buddy can come into my store, or the store that I'm running. It's not my store. Come into the store that I'm running events in. Just stumble in and be like, everything I have is legal for this event. Awesome. Okay, let's play the game of HeroClix. That is a massive issue I find with the modern age. Modern is not necessarily... Is it weird that I'm going to say Golden Age is the entry level? Because people who enter the game late are getting people's junk. And people's junk that they don't want. Because it's not just real estate on the store shelves that is a problem in HeroClix. It's real estate in our shelves. This game is such a space hog. Because it exists in 3 dimensions. An individual HeroClix player or character takes approximately, what is this, about an inch and a half? We'll say about an inch and a half run vertical, and we'll say about half an inch to an inch on the horizontal. And then, width-wise, probably, because of the whole base, we're going to say about an inch. Okay? We'll say about 1.5 inches squared. Or cubed, sorry. That's all the space that you got to figure out where this thing is going. This is not... And then now we're going to compare the space to... Amber started playing Pokemon a little while ago. And Mike, I'm just doing my visual example here, so just bear with me. So this takes up space in both the vertical, horizontal, and width-wise. And this takes a little bit of box space. And 100 of these is minuscule in space compared to 100 of these. Now, granted, I'm probably going to acquire thousands of these. I have acquired thousands of those too. So, it's hard for stores to be like, yeah, I'm going to carry a bunch of HeroClix. at the same time, it's also hard for us as tier players to constantly keep it, which is why new players coming in get all of our junk, and that's why Golden Age is actually the best way to keep players coming into the game. And I'm going to continue running Golden Age in my store until we start running the occasional WKO or whatever. So anyway, Mike, how you doing?
Hey there. I'm glad to make it. You can hear me and everything, right?
I can hear you loud and clear, sir.
Okay, fantastic. Alrighty. So thank you once again for letting me be part of this program.
Thank you for being part of the letting yourself be a part of the program.
Alrighty. So where shall I start here? So because of course you know that I bring all my prepared questions.
Love it.
So let's start here with an easy one with all the promotion to the Fantastic Four and everybody. Glad that they're getting back into Clix now. Should there be a Herbie Clix?
Okay. I would like to see Herbie be clixed. Put him at the chase level though. Keep him out of my main set. And just as long as he's not a bystander again. But then again, you know what? Or bring him back as a bystander that Reed Richards makes. I'm cool with a return to Herbie. And you know what? If you're gonna make Herbie return and he's gonna be a bystander, make him super overpowered. Give him the Fantastic 14 ability. Kill my bystander. Everybody heal. So yeah, bring me back my Herbie. Herbie. I'm all game for him. For sure.
Okay, so the next question I have, so what does the future hold for players of the Illuminati keyword? Let's just, because we've been missing Reed Richards in the comics. I'm sure he's probably going to have a Illuminati, or at least one of their pieces in there. It's going to have a Illuminati keyword in there. And how can you say, not project or something like kind of like guess at how well it's going to kind of reshape that whole team dynamic there with other pieces already we have with the Illuminati keyword? And is it probably going to be, I guess, a bigger point total than what we already have now, I guess?
Actually, quite the contrary, I think it's going to shrink a little. Because I don't know if you saw, we have a new Namor coming up in Captain America. I don't know if they threw the Illuminati keyword on him. I know he's one of the Illuminati. But he peaks out at 75 points. And I feel like we're skewing lower on points. So, now, traditionally, in the past, the Illuminati dudes, I'm just going to get this out of my forehead here. The Illuminati dudes have always kind of, they sit in this weird space of HeroClix. In the past, I have played an Illuminati theme team. So this is my experience and where it comes from. And it was a team that consisted of about 2 or 3 guys, if it's 300, or like 4 or 5 at the 500 level. All of these characters are like 100 odd points and do a ton of stuff. But much like the Illuminati, and this is one thing that I think they really nailed, either by accident, by pure virtue of just throwing the keywords on the characters. This was probably an accident. These characters don't synergize with each other. They do a lot of really cool things, each of these characters, and really added cool elements to the team. But as a team, they're not the thing that's like, I am going to put Iron Man with this Doctor Strange, with this Professor X, with this Namor, and you look at it and go, what is this mess? And I think that's one thing that they've nailed, and I think it's by pure virtue of accident and the fact that this keyword just gets thrown on dudes. I do believe we can continue to expect that. Where it's like, where does Reed Richards and Black Panther and Namor all kind of fit together in this whole situation? And we all know Namor is going to, and that's what he's going to do. Like, that's what Namor is going to do. There's no question about it. And meanwhile, Black Panther's going to be sneaking around and doing his thing. But Namor is going in a different direction than Black Panther's going. And meantime, Reed Richards isn't really going in a direction necessarily. Times 10. Let's just kind of, there we go. So, like, what are we gonna get out of extra Mr. Fantastics is more outwit, some plasticity, some perplex. That's what I think we can expect in the future. This new Namor adds another brick house to the team. We have a shifting focus Iron Man around the corner as well, where like it's funny, we have all these Illuminati guys coming outside of the Black Panther and the Illuminati set. So, all in all, there's some really cool stuff ahead, but I think as long as they continue to not try to make the Illuminati work together, they're fine. And I think thematically it works, but also as a team they kind of work in their own way, not in the fact that like, oh yeah, this team is super synergistic. It's 5 glass cannons and a Namor. Like that's what it ends up being most of the time. So, what to expect is more Reed Richards if they continue with the design philosophy they've had for years with him. A little bit of leadership, a little bit of outwit, a little bit of perplex, a little bit of prop, because he's a scientist who's super smart and manages all these things. He's going to have plasticity, maybe some shape change to go with it. And he's going to have a ton of special powers to represent all of that, and a bunch of traits to represent all of that, because that's just how crazy it is to make a character like Reed Richards and still make us want to put him on a HeroClix board. Because I want you to kind of look at Reed Richards as a comic book character and look at him very carefully. What the hell does he actually do other than science? Like, he's a guy that happens to be stretchy, but ultimately he's a lab guy. And I think that's a really hard to Clix thing that and fully represent it in a way that we kind of want to go, oh yeah, I want to put Reed Richards on the board. You have to, aside from like, oh, he's got proper perplex and outwit, that's Reed Richards. Yeah, it's like, but yeah, I guess you're right. He's a superhero, but what does he really do other than be a nerd and stretchy? That's what we're gonna get out of Reed Richards. And you know what? What they often do is they have him holding some kind of scientifically looking gun. Scientifically? That's not the word. Some sciencey looking gun. Give him 8 range, and because he made that gun to make it work and make him worth having. So, he'll be there. He'll have the Illuminati keyword. Just meter your expectations on what to expect out of a Reed Richards.
So, all right. We'll go on to, based off of that, let's go into is this a dumb idea or not? So then if you have a Reed Richards that, bends and stretches and everything like that, is this a dumb idea or a cool idea to have a Reed Richards that can reach out and perhaps grab another piece or player, stuff like that, and yank it back and then you can replace it back next to him like that, or he can maybe reach out, grab a special object and pull it back to your side. Maybe even from the starting area, you got 5 away like that. If Reed Richards can stretch out to about maybe his 7 range or something like that, and you can bring it back in. Is that a cool idea or a dumb idea?
I think it's an absolutely brilliant idea, and I hope WizKids heard that you say that, and I hope WizKids just did that, because let's be brutally honest, that would be a way to make Reed Richards seem really cool, and I'm going to help. Your quote here. He didn't say give him TK. Because I've seen them do stuff like that. It's like, oh, what's a good way to make it represent that he can like grab a thing and bring it back? Oh, let's give him telekinesis. No, you stop. Put it down. The other thing that they're probably going to give him is a giant reach that isn't necessarily 2 or 3. It's probably going to be like a 4 or 5 giant reach, to be brutally honest, because that's what they'll do. But I don't know if they want to make it make sense. It's going to have to be weaker as he gets further. I don't know, but I'm fully on board with. Hey, I'm Reed Richards. I'm going to grab that and bring it back here, and that would make perfect design sense to me. I wouldn't expect that out of the starter set one though, because the starter set one they want to cover the bases on as many powers and flat out gameplay as they possibly can. And if you start talking about special objects in the starter set, while I agree with some people that saying like, hey, if they're going to put them in the game, let's let them know. I don't think it's starter set material, personally. I think it's the next level. That's just my thoughts on the matter, though. Other people could disagree, and I agree to disagree with them. Not a dumb idea, though.
Alrighty, so moving on to, hopefully you got HC Realms up in the background. I was fiddling around with it at work, looking at some of the new pieces for the Captain America set, and some of these pieces I'm starting to like here. This is really interesting. I don't want to hear your take on it. Like at this industrial spy, that sounds dangerous and something that I would most want to have in a sealed competition. What? Do you agree?
Give me a second to look at him. Okay, full disclosure. I love Scott Porter's videos. I love that he puts them up. I don't get a chance to watch them all. So I'm going to do a quick cold read on this one because I don't think I caught that figure necessarily. Come on. Oh, geez. I swear I had this site open earlier. Here he is, Industrial Spy. So he's got the espionage trait, which is, I love this trait. Both ignore hindering for line of fire and movement, while also giving a character stealth. They have sidestep, aim, hammer industries, hydro spy keyword, 5 range, 30 points. And he's got that special power only on his first click. Stolen access to all of Stark's best tech. Outwit. When an Industrial Spy uses it and chooses only standard powers, he can use the chosen powers until your next turn. If the targeted character had armor, robot, hammer industry, Stark Industries, or vehicle, Industrial Spy can choose 2 powers instead. Okay, so that's awesome. And I got one massive problem with it. As far as you said in sealed play. So I would love to use him in sealed, but I don't want to get my hopes up too much on espionage. Because if you look one figure up, Peggy Carter has espionage. Who else? Maria Hill has espionage. Nick Fury has an espionage. Sarah Carter also has espionage. You know what espionage does? It ignores hindering for line of fire. So the stealth that you get out of espionage is useless. Stealth in this set is worthless. And I agree with you. He's great. And if you can get that outwit off, don't count on the stealth. That's a big thing. Don't count on being able to use that stealth. But if you can get that power, use that power. And like, in the case of what I would do is you have perplex, I'm outwitting your perplex, I'm using your perplex, deal with it. And you know, if you can get functional use out of it, it is 100 times better. Also, if they're trying to base you with a guy with poison, I got the poison now. I am the captain now. But like oh my god, the common slot like has so much espionage in it. It's kind of disgusting. It's like, we're going to put a bunch of guys with espionage in the set. What does it do? It gives them stealth. What else? Ignores hindering for movement. What else? Ignores hindering for line of fire. What have we done? Oh my gosh. Because they also, in the Fast Forces, they gave us Hawkeye, who ignores hindering. They gave us War Machine in set, who ignores hindering. Oh, look, Spymaster has espionage. Like, oh. The word espionage is about to mean nothing by the time I'm done with this conversation. So, meet your expectations. Expect one use out of him, but I do think that he is a really cool addition. Because what's also important is if they have stealth, because the Industrial Spy has espionage, you can take that power and use it yourself. And it doesn't matter if they have stealth. So, stealth just doesn't matter in this set. It's, oh my god. Black Panther has Silent Hunter, which is espionage with a fancier name. Jeez Louise, what have they done? Oh my god. We're going to give a bunch of characters stealth. We're also going to give them anti-stealth. And we're going to give it to a bunch of these dudes. Oh man. This is such a hot nightmare. But, so, yeah, the Industrial Spy is good. Just meet your expectations of him and his stealth. What the hell, WizKids?
Alrighty. So the second piece I'd like you to take a look at is the Radioactive Man and his special power about being somewhat not necessarily immune to it, but harder to hit in the energy explosion trait. And I want you to help explain that. Does he need to be like, since energy explosion captures everybody in the group? like that. Does he have to be the initial target to get that -2 there? Or, I guess, or I'll let you read it out loud.
Okay, I'll read the power out loud so you kind of
Mhm.
understand the nonsense that's about to happen here. Come on, there we go. What is it? Thor, my mortal foe, is the power name. Opposing characters that can use energy explosion or quake modify attack -2 when attacking radioactive man. They don't even have to be using the power to first of all. So like, oh, you have energy explosion? Oh, that's -2 attack. Oh, I don't care if you're not using it. So that's one. Or two, you're like, oh, you can use quake? I got bad news for you, man. You're -2 attack. Now, with the energy explosion, what'll end up happening is if you energy explode either radioactive man or anybody next to him, he becomes the target of the attack, which means, yes, they are going to have to subtract -2 of the attack because they're attacking him. So, yeah. So, yeah, the most important part is they don't even have to be using the power. They just have to be able to use the power. So, like, you know, if it's showing on the dial, they have a trait that says this character can use energy explosion. Ooh, radioactive man says whatever, man. And like, think about how many characters that are being relied on that can use quake. Like, quake has become like one of the most powerful powers in the game lately. And radioactive man's like, that's cool, -2 attack, but yeah. And then of course if you're close enough, you get -1 damage as well. Yeah. So did that answer your question? I hope. Like, yeah. I answered it and then some. It's like, here's the answer to your question, and here's some cake to go with it.
Just a preliminary idea. Like, do you think that's going to be a meta piece in the near future or so once everything gets circulated?
Radioactive Man?
Yes.
His point value for what you get is... Well, he's got the Massive Evil Team ability, so he does have Colossal Stamina. He's got... If he had Charge instead of Sidestep on his first click with the movement power, I would say maybe, possibly. And it's either starting line. Like, the 50-point starting line is only 4 clicks. The 85-point starting line is got 7 clicks. The last click doesn't matter. The last click is trying to keep you alive. I don't think he's going to see hardcore competitive play. He will see some teams. He will be on some teams, but I don't think he's going to be the linchpin of any teams. And he might fill out some scientist teams because a lot of scientist teams have a bit of a problem with energy explosion. So, you know, as a countermeasure to the weakness, he's not a bad idea. It also helps with Quake and stuff like that. But ultimately, I think long and the short of it, he's not going to be the staple of it all. I might see him at a tournament, and I'll be like, yo, I saw Radioactive Man. I didn't see that coming. But it's not like, bam, this guy's going to see it for sure. He's got a place, but it's not on every single team. I think that's what I was trying to say.
Alrighty, so all right, so I know you enjoy playing all the Pog generator teams and stuff like that, and I'm going to go straight to the expert source here. All right, so when you're assessing the quote unquote playable value of the Pog generating pieces and stuff like that, are more how do I phrase this? All right, the Pog generators that make more than one Pog at a time, are they like kind of weighted better than say just a one generator that only does like maybe one at a time, or can only put like one on there and to wait until it's like KO'd? Like, I guess some like there's like a Moda, or there's that one Devil Dinosaur that only does like one at a time and stuff like that. And
the Devil's Dinosaur made 3 at a time of one type. So, but I see where you're going with your question, and there's no hard answer for it. And the reason for that is it's the same fundamentals of what we call min-maxing. And when people talk about min-maxing in HeroClix, what is the least amount of points I can spend to do the most amount of damage, or what's the least amount of effort I can put into a game to do the most amount of effort or most amount of damage, or also what kind of effort gets me what kind of damage. So to kind of clarify on that one, I want to look at some of the Pog generators I have been using of late, specifically the Earth X Iron Man and the Isaac. So they actually follow on both categories of what you're talking about. The first one being the Earth X Iron Man. He starts the game with 2 dudes, and then I can make them thereafter. Now, if I have to be playing with the map that makes extra dudes, I do it for free, which is the best way to do it. A free action is the best way to make a Pog. But I will not crap on a Pog generator if the Pog that they're making is worth the power action. Or, if I'm in it for the lulz. When I say in it for the lulz, let's look at Tyrannus, okay? Tyrannus is an example of a Pog generator that isn't making Pogs to do anything other than drive your opponent up the wall. And I like to call them mud makers. Because all those characters do that you make with a character like Tyrannus is muddy up the board. I played in a battle royale with a Tyrannus, and I think about a third of the map at one point had nothing but his mole men, or whatever his dudes are. They're not mole men. It was Mighty Thor, as to say he was in. He was a rare, I believe. Tyrannus, Tyrannoids. I had like a board just muddied up with Tyranids, and it's the value proposition of what he does. Beginning of the game, perplex only target Tyranids when he uses it. I'm just trying to remember how he made them. Beginning your turn, Tyrannus had 2 action tokens, generated Tyrannoid, power generated Tyrannoid. So it takes an action to do it, but then you can generate 2 if you have 2 action tokens, and he starts with willpower, which is great news. Awesome. But you're getting a crap character who's making crap Pogs. And not up there on the... Okay, he's not a crap character, but he's not the greatest option of Pog generators, for sure. Because what he's generating isn't adding as much as you'd like, and what he's doing isn't adding up. So we go back to the ones I have been using a lot of, and that's Iron Man, and that's Isaac. Now, Isaac makes beefy Pogs. Like, his Pogs are the first click of like a lot of 50-point characters, and they cost 0. They if they die, it costs you nothing, right? And he's an example of one I'm willing to take a power action with, because everything makes is great and is building up to something supreme, like Taco Supreme level awesome. And that being, I can't remember what the name of it is, but he's got that one Pog that's just chaos. I think it's called Chaos. It does like 4 damage and huge stats. And that's on a 50-point dude, but he has to take a power action to make, right? We go to Earth X Iron Man. He's a 125-point dude who makes generally 1 at a time, but starts the game with 2. And each of those are like the first click of a good solid 40-odd point character. But then they're the type of 40-point character that you'd include on a team because they do a lot of damage. And if I'm going to lose no points to lose them, I'm not going to worry about it. So that's kind of the 2 ends of the same spectrum, where it's like both of those make really good Pogs in different manners. So we kind of look at what each does. Isaac doesn't do damage. Isaac is a non-source of damage until the later part of his dial when you get to a stop click. And when you hit a stop click, he makes all his Pogs if you don't have any. All right, cool. Iron Man, very similar situation. Doesn't do anything off the start, but then you hit him, and then he becomes a house, a literal house, and doesn't make them in the same way, but still... if you're using the map, he makes them the same way. If you're not using the map, he makes them as he shoots you. So there's no one answer to how I'm going to choose a bystander, except for what am I getting out of the bystander, and is it adding to what I want to do. So for the example, Tyrannus adds so much laughter because they'll look at me and go, how many of these Tyrannoids do you have? 8. And they're looking at me like, how do I get around these? I don't know. It's not my problem. Right? That's my goal with Tyrannus. with Iron Man, I'm trying to make these guys, and I'm trying to use them to kill you. Same with Isaac. I'm making these guys, and I'm trying to use them to kill you. You need to die by my pogs, and if you kill my pogs, they're coming back. And that's another key is pogs that come back are really a mainstay of a lot of what I do because they're gonna die. So, and it's not to say that there's no such thing as a pog that dies and goes away and never comes back. That that Teagle, we all remember Teagle and Lobo's dog. These are all good examples of like pog-like characters that just kind of come out, do their thing, and if they die, whatever. But they added to what I was gonna do. So, getting to where I was going, value proposition is ultimately the goal. Is what am I getting out of it? Is it going to do what I want it to do? And what do I need out of it? So, in the case of what I'm using, I'm making pogs that are character level stats that do a ton of damage being made by guys with trash, with no combat value. So, really, the fighting is being done by these guys. Now, we go to the other end of the spectrum. It's like, what if a guy makes trash pogs? So, you have to ask yourself, why does he make trash? And ultimately, if that guy has mastermind or some way of just saying, okay, instead of me taking the damage, my bystanders are going to take the damage, and I'm going to be okay with that. That's why they make those trash pogs. And sometimes you can make treasure out of trash with things like enhancement, empower, perplex, probability control. Like so. Ultimately, I just like zerging the board and watching my opponent go, what is all of this stuff? But I lose a lot to calm players who are smart and know how to just like ignore my pogs and make sure things happen their way. So that's kind of the thought. So it's not to say that guys have to make multiple pogs or they're trash. If they make a pog, or a bystander, and you like the reason you want to use it has to fall under these categories. Like, is this pog going to add to my combat values, like to my general combative state? If not, is it worth it? So that's what you have to ask. And to go back to when Devil's Dinosaur was making 3 dudes at a time, all of those dudes were so good. Oh my god. Oh my god, Devil Dinosaur was the best. I miss him so much. Floor is yours again.
Alrighty, so there's something else that I kind of notice and things like that, and I want to know if you've noticed things how like there's the power creep and stuff like that, people, and then there's the point creep levels and stuff like that. I'm seeing a lot of good pieces now. I don't think that these pieces are undervalued or overvalued or anything like that. But now that we're back up to like 125 point characters, these giant colossal characters now, like some of the lowest ones are like 300 points and stuff like that. Is this back? Like, is the game returning back up to the pre War of Light levels with the point totals now, or like it? Because there was a time when we only had was like 50 and 75 point characters and stuff like that, and now some of the LEs now, and like I think we talked about this last month. And like, get your impression of the Kyle Rayner was like 150, like 140 points or something like that, and then it's taken up a lot of the percentage of that 300 point total. So I want to get your take on is things escalating yet again.
I don't know if Captain America so far the highest point character has been 125 points. I think point values are making sense again, and here's what I mean. If you look at Avengers Infinity and X-Men and the Colossus that they introduced, not all of them are retaliators. This is an important note. Some of the Colossals in Avengers Infinity, as an example, like their lowest line was like 100 points or maybe 50 points. Playable in the 300 point realm, which is where WizKids kind of focuses their design. But at the same time, they're not that 10, 15, 20, 30 point inclusion that just happens to be on a team because it serves a function. They're trying to make things make sense. So let's go back to the choices that they made. And I want to go specifically with Lord Chaos Master Order. Like that two-headed thing. That is not a dude who's going to get angry that you hit my buddy over here and come across the board and punch you for it. This is an all-encompassing chaotic chaos being that is not there to be your retaliator. That is a massive monster who kind of oversees things. Now, we go back to X-Men, and I want to point out specifically Krakoa. Krakoa, I think, was one of the weird ones. It has colossal retaliation, but it is not a colossal retaliator. It's really weird. Like, you pay 70 points at minimum. At minimum. Like, the lowest points you can pay for him is 70 points. But he has an ability that gives him colossal retaliation. But he's not included on your team in the tradition of what we call the colossal retaliator. I kind of want more of that, to be brutally honest. But to go on, like the colossal retaliators that we actually got out of X-Men were Storm, weird, Dark Phoenix. I get it because at one point she was mind controlled and easily to be swayed. So yeah, and she takes things on a personal level. Iceman takes things on a personal level, makes sense. Rachel Summons, like these are characters like you hit my friend, I'm coming for you. No, I didn't hit you that hard. I'm coming for you. But then, you have like Wendigo, who has a colossal retaliator dial, but it's not a colossal retaliation. It is its own beast. It's a one-click dial, but doesn't focus on colossal retaliating. I think they're coming to this weird kind of overture where, and I'm going to get back to where you're going. It's like, you think points are skewing higher, and I disagree. I actually think they're skewing lower because, so we've talked about all of that. They're making things make sense in the sense of Colossals. So let's go to Thor. Have you seen the Chase Thor? Seen the preview for it? No? Okay, cool. It's one of the coolest 250 point dials I've ever seen. And you get it for the bargain of 125 points. And that's kind of what I am seeing right now. What I'm seeing right now is that they're taking what we used to look at for characters. And that Thor, a year ago, I guarantee was a 250 point dial. And all of us are like, oh, I'm not spending 250 points on this. So now Wish is going, what about 125? And we go, okay, hold on a second. You have my attention. Because what we're spending 125 points on right now is, and we've min-maxed to such a degree where it's like, we know what we're spending points on and all the functionality we get on it. And if we spend over a certain amount of points, we need a certain result out of it. So Kobik being that 100 point kind of keynote. I'm going to take your team ability. But why? It's mine. And I'm going to call somebody in. What is he going to do? Why is he hitting me so hard? And like, this is the combination we get out of 100 points, right? And then we got Thor, 125 points. I'm going to hit you for 5 damage. Cool. Did you enjoy that? By the way, I'm energy exploding you now. Like, take 7. And that's what we get for 125 points with a 12 attack with probability control. With running shot. And like, he's getting a Clix effects marker, and it gives him energy shield and mystics against close combat attacks. So he's actually got a strength against everything you want to use to deal with him. And then he's a Thor dial. So I think we're going to see points skew lower, but the value is going to go up. And that's what we're going to see going forward, because things skewed so weirdly and all over the place and inconsistently, that we're going to see a low skew on higher results for offensiveness going forward. Another reason for that, unfortunately, has been the big problem. The game is not played in competitive in the way that you think it is, because that Thor has some great stats. You're not using them. What you're doing with that Thor is you're calling somebody in the 125 point range. They're making an attack. You're probing the missed attack roll with the Thor, and then they're going to sidestep out of view, and they are off of the board, and you will not get colossal retaliated. That is how the game is being played in the competitive level right now. And that is why Thor is 125 points right now. Because we don't play with the HeroClix doesn't get played with the stats on the board anymore. It gets played on the stats on the sideline. And then when we're out of the sideline and we've gotten rid of all the Colossal Retaliators and gotten rid of all of our ID cards, that's when we can start playing the game of HeroClix. So I wouldn't mind a little bit of a rate of play increase somehow from some players, but that is what I'm seeing right now. And I do believe that WizKids has seen the value of a character on the board has gone down drastically, and they have to understand that if they have some future where they're like, we have to make more ID cards again, and people love these Colossal Retaliators, so let's keep them around too. So if that's not how you want to play competitive play, I got bad news for you. That's how competitive play goes. And I mean, we as competitive players are a weird breed. We just go. Like, you can just do whatever to the game. We're just going to go. If there is one thing that's great, guess what we're playing? And I say we in the royal we. I am not part of the we. I am the me over here who's like, hi guys, I'm playing this weird thing that I came up with. My team's on fire now. Thanks guys, it was a fun game. So, anyway, yes, on table stats have drastically lost value, and I think the points are starting to reflect that. So, but at the same time, I wouldn't mind seeing I just want to see a continuation of guys pointed in ways that make sense. I think that's what I kind of want to see in the future. So, and retaliators have to make sense too.
Okay, I only have 2 more questions left. I'm sure you're probably getting tired. So, okay, the second to last one is I say I'm building a team with a simple vehicle, like the Shield Dune buggy, or maybe just the Shield car or something like that, just something to transport around. And I want to use a WWE Clix as a driver. Do WWE Clix makes good drivers for other and maybe not like in a casual sense, or would their special powers be more advantageous to not be in the vehicle?
The WWE guys are fine on table for the most part. There's no real negative to having them on the table unless there's a Kobik on the table. So if they're getting in a vehicle, it's because you're dodging Kobik somehow. That said, let's talk about that casual thing you said. Because I've got a film for you. I don't know if it's still on Netflix. But they made 3 animated Scooby-Doo movies with WWE wrestlers and having full plots with like Scooby-Doo and John Cena and there's Scooby-Doo WrestleMania Mystery, which is one of them, and that's where they meet John Cena, and there's a ghost bear trying to attack WrestleMania at WrestleMania City. Delightful. My kids loved it, and that was great. But you want to see some WWE guys in vehicles? May I suggest Scooby-Doo and WWE Curse of the Speed Demon. If you think I'm making this up for a second, I'm pulling up the Wikipedia page for you guys right now. I'm going to send you the Wikipedia page, Mike, when we're done with this. It's literally it's basically wacky races with wrestlers and Scooby-Doo, and it is the dumbest thing. You're going to hate me for having told you about this, and if you're gonna watch it, I suggest you watch it with your brain on completely, just put your brain on hibernation mode, because it is dumb, but you will smile if you are a wrestling fan and if you are a Scooby-Doo fan. When the second you said that, all I could picture was the Undertaker in his truck driving in this race, and I was like, oh god, oh man, not enough of the wrestlers who are in this are in the game right now, because and they got the wrestlers to do these voices. I want to point out, the actual wrestlers sat there like, I'm doing a Scooby-Doo right now, aren't I? And we're talking the Undertaker, Michael Cole's voice as the announcer is in there. Lana and Rusev are in there. Dusty Rhodes, baby. This Dusty Rhodes voice is in this. Along with Cody and Dustin. Like the Rhodes family, baby. Vince McMahon's in here, Triple H is in here, Sheamus is in here. Like, it is delightfully dumb. So this exists. You can now blame me for having told you this exists. And if you Wrestling with Regret, spelled with a WRE regret, he did a couple of videos reviewing these movies. If you really want to know that these exist, and you don't believe me still, check it out. And the only reason I know these exist is my kids loved them. That's how you knew they were my kids. So yeah, Undertaker driving a dune buggy, go for it, man. Casually, whatever. They have great stats, that's fine. But ultimately, they're fine walking. In fact, they're faster than a lot of vehicles when you include the grand entrance, right?
Alrighty. So, last question I have is: do you want to hear more about this?
What am I looking? Whose autograph is that? Oh, it's Trish. Dude, regale us with the story of you meeting Trish Stratus and getting your card signed.
Alrighty, so I've been waiting to tell this for about a whole month now. Like, and I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to do it before from the December, but so this comes around here, and I was so excited as soon as she was announced she was coming with Lita, and was gonna have like this giant things. Oh my God, yeah, the Clix just came out. I have to go get it. Like, I've already sent away for like her autograph because I never, in my wildest dreams ever thought I would actually get to stand next to her and meet her. But okay, let's go this time around and see like what would happen if does she even know what HeroClix is? And as it turns out, no, she doesn't, or at least in this case. And I'm looking at you, WizKids. Like, I don't know if this was the fault of the WWE merchant thing, or is this WizKids, because the way she reacted to, like, I was probably the only first one up there that even thought of because most people were bringing her like the action figure or her what's that one bobblehead thingy that Funko Pop toy, like and getting those autographed and things like that. So and I show it to her, and I say to her, well, explain. I'm a pretty decent player like that. I enjoy playing this thing, and your likeness came out in one of these things. So I brought this here to show you, and so like I guess maybe she didn't even get to see the thing because she goes, "Oh, is this what these actually look like? Oh, this is so neat." And so I don't know, and I told and then I last month or two, like when they first came out, this was the truth. I was also really waiting to tell her that, because in my WWE release game, I actually took down Triple H with her, and so I told her, and she's like, "Oh yeah!" And she reached out like hand across the table like that, and goes, "Oh yeah, that's awesome!" When we high five to it and everything. So she was so excited, like, and she told me that all the the oh, crap, I want to get this accurate enough so I don't put words into her mouth or anything like that. It was like I think she was probably pretty vague or something, enough to the point where she said that they just contacted me and said, hey, we would like your likeness for this game, and she, I guess, just give her okay, like quick thing like that, and so then. But most of the time, where she kind of felt, like I was really, really nervous, thinking that I was going to stumble over my words, because, believe it or not, I used to be in radio up in middle central Pennsylvania and stuff like that. I'm used to being around star athletes, or the star athletes that came through the town back to visit and stuff like that. I know, like I talked to a lot of famous people before, but in this case, this is the one kind of like I had a little crush on back in the day and everything. It's like she's this is Trish, like it's kind of important to me. So she spent like what it felt uh, like so a lot of time with me. Like she wanted to hear more about it. Like, okay, well, what do these? And she wanted me to explain the game to her. And it's like, oh, okay. Well, and then this is like more in me, thinking like, okay, just how much did Hero, like explain this to you? And I wonder if this is like common, whether or not some of the other pieces in the game, anybody else signed on for this. What do they know, or how did they get around to us? But so I said, oh yeah, it's like more like chess and moves around in the grid and stuff like that. So yeah, she not only because then she was charging for the photo opportunity and then I think it was like even in the bonus like even a couple dollars more for a duet with her and Lita. She Lita was on the next table right next to her, and they had the big banner that said Team Bestie. So I guess they're doing the circuit around there as well. So um, yeah, I just told her that that I'm really into this game, and she, like you can be right next to like all the other different superheroes and stuff like that. And she's so cool like that. She was like uh, and she made me feel so comfortable talking to her that she wanted to the like to get to know me instead. Like after all the like I felt like watching her over all these years, like you kind of feel like you can know her enough through the TV, but she doesn't know you. So she was asking. I guess she kind of flipped it around whether I had like so much stuff that I really wanted to talk to her, but she made you so feel so comfortable. She was so super nice, and she basically made me feel like she wanted to get to know me more. And I told her about the game. She signed my the card there, and of course this is all protected. And of course, maybe next time I make a team with Trish on it, so I'm going to probably take this. I'm going to put it down there, and I'm going to have a story to tell all the other game players there that this is an actual game piece that is autographed. So yeah, she even when she took a photo with me. She had it in the piece in a palm of her hand. I think I put it up in the Discord already. Yeah, and I think she took a couple individually. I think, and then she I got my permission to, or she asked for my permission. Say, hey, can I put this up on her website, up on our blog, on her website, and talk a little bit about the game and stuff like that. And so that was basically my experience like that. I walked away believing like, wow, that was really really cool that she was a lot of the people there. I also got to meet Robert Patrick, the T1000 like that, and he was there. I guess he was like a late thing like at Eddie Furlong there, and a lot of the people from Princess Bride were there, and a lot of them were pretty cool. Some of the cast from Saved by the Bell were very nice too, but you can tell from their body language they did not want to be there. Like Zach, Mark Pargosler did not look me in the eye. Or anything like that. Just kind of wanted, okay, let's get this over. Keep it moving, type of thing. But he was still very nice to me. But it was just more or less. You can tell the stars that were there, that wanted to be there and treated you and wanted you to enjoy the experience and talking with them, versus the people that were just there to okay, this is just something to do, like, yeah, all right, next. Moving along. But yeah, that. So that was my experience like that. And I don't know what else the other different HeroClix people were doing, but she at least Trish knows a little bit more about the game than just signing away her likeness.
Well, I'm glad you had a great time. It's always cool to meet when there's something that exists like that. We're meeting the character behind it is, especially with WWE, you have that option a little bit more. Like, sure, you can find actors who have played the HeroClix guys, but WWE, you can be like, yo, this is you. I want you to sign a card attached to this. So, Yeah, very cool interaction, and it's good to hear you had a good time with that. With that said, you said that was the last thing you wanted to bring up, right? All right. So, Mike, thank you very much for relieving me. I apologize at the beginning of this. I was rambling on a little more. If you guys were watching, I tried. We're gonna move this back to first Friday of the month. You want to join in on this? Check us out at patreon.com/Clix. And you can help make us a little better so we have more people to talk to. You can also join our Discord. And by the end of the month, I'm looking to get our Discord, our Roll20 server up and running. So I got a lot of things ahead. I'm probably not going to get much video game time in the nights, but I'm doing it all for those guys who help keep the lights on, keep the show going. So, Mike, thank you very much. Thank you guys in the Patreon. Check us out at patreon.com/Clix. Thank you guys for watching live. Thank you guys for watching in the archives. You guys have yourselves a wonderful evening, and see you guys tomorrow for the Metal Lab.